Hi, it's me, Alex Perella again. Today is December the 10th, 2015. This is my video number 6, which will be posted on YouTube. There hasn't been any sort of reaction to my previous videos, but as I said before, the main purpose of doing this is to present detailed information of the most relevant aspects of my life over the last years. Recapping a bit my story where I left last time, I started saying that in 2014 I was living at living at 26 Jackson's Road in Novel Park North with Dave O'Toole and his 2 cats, Toby and Tiger, with Cheryl Carter behind curtains. It is worth to mention that Dave didn't have a car and always used public transport, and said he was living on a disability pension back then. He used to play the guitar and went out on a weekly basis for music sessions or to watch the footy. Cherry was on the lease and McLennan was the real estate agent. I didn't have any job interviews during 2013, although I kept applying for hundreds of jobs. The same will happen in 2014 until the very end. I felt at this point that the government, through Centrelink and the job agencies, tried all the time to keep me unemployed. The episode with Ostara in 2013 and the events that followed only confirmed my perception that it still is the same today. On the 30th and the 13th of January, appointment with Dr. Darmash. The 17th of January, took the new PC that I bought with the loan from Good Money to Centrelink, and for the problems that I had back then with the memory RAM. It was brand new, but I still have problems with that computer. On the 4th of February, a phone call from Hal, a guy that I met at Spring Valley Center, as a friendly reminder of a new loan for the registration of my car. They usually did that to make me believe something positive is going to happen. Short, but invariably it's always not nothing. On the 10th of February, appointment with Dr. Darmash. They are moving from Monash Family Psychiatry in Clayton to Heatherton Consulting Rooms. At the reception, there was a guy staring at me and a woman coughing loudly right next to me. On the February the 11th, called Christina Aristidou, a lady that I worked with back in CIPSA in my time there. I told her about my last years. She asked me if my daughter was still living with her mother. I replied I didn't know back then. She also told me, I suppose it was the case, but I didn't know. She also told me that Jonathan Dutton was pushed from the company, not sacked. He was apparently invited to resign. She said that Chris Gallagher was in charge at that time. I already met the guy, Chris, and back in 2008 when he came down to the company. She said that he was a nice guy, which I think it was the case, and that I should talk to him. Perhaps there is an opening for me. I asked her whether there was somebody working in the finance area. She said that it was an Asian guy. I told her there was nothing for me there, and she replied, I perhaps should talk to Edward Raiden and ask him for a reference. And I told her I had already one, actually 2, from the company. She said that it was based in China. He's got some business here in Melbourne, or perhaps Michael Page, she said. And I said, I told you that they were an agency, Michael Page. She said yes, but they were sponsors of the annual conference in the past. So I don't know. I thought back then that, to be honest with you, that maybe David Noble, Malcolm Croft, and Edward as well were also part of the eventual any wrongdoing. Of course, they needed the cooperation of the auditors back then, which were Agostinelli Perlen. but it's my perception of the thing, of all things. And she suggested that I should call Karina, who was the receptionist, who was the only one who left from the time that I work at the company. She continues saying, perhaps you can pay them a visit when you are in the city. And I was not convinced at all to do that anyway. She also was emphatic, denying Edward Rayner's participation or knowledge in any dodgy business. She also said that David Noble didn't like JD. That bit was hard to believe, though. Actually, it was hard to believe in regards to Ed as well. If you ask me, but as I said before, it's just my perception. February the 17th, I kept thinking about that phone call with the conversation with Christina, and I came to the conclusion that since there was a new MD, Managing Director Chris Gallagher, who I briefly met back in 2008 and seemed an approachable guy, it would be worth to attempt contact him and tell him my side of the story. So I called him, talked to Karina. She said things were going well. I told her about my intentions of meeting him for my peace of mind and my integrity as a professional, basically, considering that I was convinced that my time working there prevented me from finding another job elsewhere. She said a lot of things. A lot of things have changed over the years. She was curious, though, about the nature of my claim after several years, and I said it was related to the situation regarding the two written job references and JD's allegations that I already outlined before. She told me she was going to try to pass on the message to his personal assistant called Diana. At this point, and after this phone conversation, I have to say that I always suspected they were the ones behind all my problems. They tried to make me believe in an eventual return, which I never wanted, neither then nor now. But at the same time, having a meeting with Chris would be useful in any case, better than nothing. So, on the 3rd of March, an appointment with Dr. D. Darmash for the last time at Monash Family Psychiatry at Clayton. He said that, not surprisingly, that I should contact CIPSA in regards to my conversation last 17th of February. It was interesting for me in order to discover the potential link between them and Dr. Darmash. So I sent an email to Karina seeking feedback of our conversation over the phone. Talked to them. Apart from that day I talked to the tax office in regards to the low superannuation funds deposited by Rambler back in 2007. Called Howe in regards to a new loan to pay the registration of my car. On March the 4th, appointment with Howe at the Springville Eye Center regarding check for the registration of my car, and receive an email from Chris Gallagher. We copied to Hal Hiramatsu, who was the finance director, or is the finance director, I don't know, telling me they wanted to meet me on the 14th of March at 10:30. It seemed a bit strange at that time that Hal was part of the meeting, considering that he was not working in the company during my time, but it's how he was. On the March the 6th, sent payment plan to Civic Compliance addressing outstanding speeding fines for around $1,300. On the 8th of March, Facebook message from Victor Nieto wishing me happy birthday when actually it was the 10th. Perhaps he knew about my recent events with CIPSA. I don't know. On the 11th of March, in any case, I sent him an email telling him about my meeting with Chris and Hal on the 14th. After that exchange, Victor would stop contacting me until today. I haven't heard anything from him ever since. I already talked about this guy. I think that he always knew things about me, and somehow was about my life as well. On the 14th of March, the appointment at CIPSA with Chris Gallagher and Hal Hiramatsu. When I got there, Karina was nowhere to be seen. There were changes in the office. They looked more modest in comparison to the time I was there. Finally, when I got to Chris's office, they were both dressed casually, as it was on every Friday. I started thanking them the opportunity to tell my story, and I described them briefly my 10 months there, and showed them the two written job references from 2012. Chris said that he, JD, admittedly breached the rule of not giving job references, but I emphasized that I never requested them. I remember Hal was a bit tense at first and a bit worried. Later on, he accepted Hal a soft copy of the references of the reference letters in a flash drive. But the conversation with Chris became a bit uneasy when he said that all the records of the company were lost. And therefore, it couldn't be proved any wrongdoing during JD's time. It was really hard to believe, considering that we performed back then daily backups of the servers containing all the information of the company. This can be also confirmed by Dean Harry, who was the IT external help. We also keep a copy of the external hard drives that Karina will use to take with her every night in the case of a fire in the office. So naturally, I didn't want to get into any kind of argument with him, because I obviously expected some sort of answer in protecting the reputation of the organization, of course. Nevertheless, I described them my preference, my performance during those months. Chris, promised to notify the head office and the board of directors and get back to me. Something that never happened, by the way. And also offered me another reference, which was really weird, considering that he said a few minutes ago it was forbidden by the internal regulations. So I thanked him, but refused that, saying that I was happy with the one that I already have without the paragraph regarding the system we used back then. Before saying goodbye, they seemed really nervous. My theory on this, considering that their silence after that, and the fact that JD continued working with his friend Nigel Waldroper, who was the one who organized the annual conferences for CIPSA. I suppose that JD, and this is a theory, it's a speculation, perhaps JD fended off any potential incrimination by telling what he knew about me being framed way back before we met at CIPSA. But it's just that, the theory. On the 21st of March, text message from Good Money Community for a workshop at the Ramada Encore Hotel in Dandenong, and they offer in exchange a Coles gift voucher for attending the workshop. On the 25th of March, a workshop at Ramada Encore Hotel in Dandenong. There were 3 hosts. It was about insurance. It was organized by the Good Shepherd Dandenong Good Money. They gave us a $20 Coles gift card, and I enrolled for the next workshop at the Good Shepherd Dandenong office. And there was a $50 Coles gift card at play. The 31st of March, workshop at GSD, Good Shepherd Dandenong, Roslyn, Gareth, Sonia. It was about insurance. On the April the 1st, Dr. Damash called me asking for a new referral from the GP. I called the Mount Weatherly Clinic to make an appointment with Dr. Alan Canning. On the April the 2nd, 2014, appointment with Dr. Canning. He didn't shake my hand, but took my blood pressure though. He said something about high pressure that I couldn't understand. On April the 5th, phone call from Betty. After months, we talked about everything and told her I wanted to see Vicky. I previously left a message on her mobile phone a few days before. I talked to a relative in Argentina There was a long conversation as well. On the April the 8th, a call from Civic Compliance rejecting my request for a payment plan for my outstanding fines, about $1,700. I called them and they told me that I should first pay $320 upfront in order to apply for a new payment plan. Something that I didn't do because I didn't have the money, of course. On the 18th of April, they stole some food from the fridge and we started to have some problems. On the 19th of April, sent a follow-up email to CIPSA and no answer was received. On the 28th of April, workshop at the Good Shepherd Dandenong, Steve Garrett, another Coles gift card. On the May the 9th, appointment with Dr. Amash, he said that you got too many closures to deal with, which I never understood. On the 16th of May, workshop at Good Shepherd Dandenong, another Coles gift card. On the 20th of May, called Chris Gallagher, but he was never available. On the 26th of May, first provocation at Safeway's car park and Worley Gardens towards the entrance. We exchanged some insults and I kept walking. First of many aggressive situations there. On the 5th of June, appointment with Dr. Darmash. I left another message on Chris Gallagher's voicemail in regards to our meeting last 14th of March. No answer whatsoever. On July the 3rd, appointment with Dr. D again. On the 24th of July, letter from Ostara. Appointment for 28th of July. I called them, talked to Anastasia. She rescheduled it for the 6th of August 2014. At that time, I started to have more problems with Dave. On the 28th of July, I didn't want to continue with Ostara because of the events the previous year. So I called DIWA, who is the organization dealing with the job agents, job providers. Agitated conversation with Dean back then. Eventually he hung up and talked to another lady. They offered me 3 options. One of them was Ostara again, CRS Australia, who told me that they were bound for closure in 6 months due to budget cuts of the new government. So the other agency left was Paramount Personnel. Now it's called the Breach Employment. I called them and they said that they could take my file from Ostara. So Robin called me from Paramount and said that I could go the next day to the office and fill up all the paperwork. I agreed. On the 29th of July, I went to Paramount and drove Dave to the clinic in Dandenong nearby because he didn't have a car back then, nearby the agency. There was a misunderstanding with Mary telling me I should go to Ostara to fill out the paperwork, the transfer paperwork. I refused and said that it was not what I was told by Julie, by Robin the previous day. So I talked to Julie and they accepted to do the paperwork there. They asked me about the reasons for what I was wanted to leave Ostara, and I explained that because of the events with related to James and Anastasia and the causes there that I explained in detail before. She confirmed that it wouldn't be a problem for me to make the change. On the 30th of July, I started notice guys at Aldi when I was buying my groceries, acting strange. When doing my shopping, the same would happen at Safeway in Worley Gardens as well. On the 31st of July, a letter for an appointment on 19th of August 2014. I wrongly believe it was from PBS Workfine in Springvale. So because I just changed to Paramount, so I went to my appointment with Dr. Darmash and told him about that, and that I felt that confused, and he seemed to be surprised for that. Like he knew that actually it was from Centrelink Springvale, not the agency who was across the road. So I didn't realize of that until I was on my way out and he checked the letter again and noticed my mistake. So how did he know that? Another reason to book another appointment with him for the 28th of August. He gave me another medical certificate until the 19th of September. On August the 4th, appointment at Paramount with Julie, who checked the medical certificate and said I should first lodge it with Centrelink to continue with the registration process, and made another appointment with her for the 18th, and said that depending on the answer from Centrelink, they could accept it. They could accept, or I should disregard the appointment. Well, in the case that they accept, I can disregard the appointment of the 18th. Otherwise, they could attend. They have to attend. So I decided to go to Centrelink straight away. After that, and when I got there, the employee, that was on the 4th of August. The employee at Centrelink looked at the certificate and said an outcome would be posted on the mail in a few days. If rejected, I should attend to the appointment with Paramount on the 18th. I was clear about that, and asked her that my preferred Centrelink branch was Dandenong, not Springvale, because I was closer to that office. And she made the change. On the computer. When I was leaving, when I was leaving the Dandenong branch, Centrelink Dandenong branch, a guy was right outside, and he approached me, and he was wearing sunglasses, and he started talking to me, asking me if I wanted a job. Never happened to me before or after. I tried to ignore the guy, but he insisted. So I stopped and asked me if I was interested in getting some training for a diploma in business with access to paid work eventually. So I told him I was already an accountant. He wondered how on earth I was not working. I told him that I had been asking the same question to myself for years. Then he started to make more questions. Languages I spoke, where I was from, my family. So I started to feel upset with his tone and body language, and he gave me a small paper with Herbalife information and his details. His name was Dominic. I took it and left with the impression it was some sort of threat. He also mentioned something about the Afghan community needing an accountant like me. And that was it. That was a very weird situation. Never happened before or after. Right in the entrance of Centrelink Dandenong. David arrived at the house after being absent a few days with his mother. He said that he had a new appointment with the clinic in Dandenong next day. I offered him a ride, and he accepted. On August the 6th, a letter from Centrelink rejecting medical certificate from Dr. Damash. I called Paramount. I talked to Julie. She said that she couldn't understand their decision, and asked me to bring that letter for our appointment on the 18th of August. On the 7th of August, I called Centrelink. They said that despite what the medical certificate might say, they couldn't continue extending the period of no compliance with appointments with the job service providers. So they booked me a new appointment at Centrelink for the 11th of August. On that occasion, I explained the situation to a female employee, showed her the rejection letter of my medical certificate. She said that despite all of that, there had been an assessment of my situation. She couldn't say who did that, though, and that I should resume my fortnightly appointments with Paramount. So I told her a bit about my story, but she insisted I should resume my regular appointments with Paramount. I insist that I don't know who did that assessment and on what basis was taking that decision to this date. On the 17th of August, the relationship with Dave is deteriorating. On the 18th of August, appointment with Robin at Paramount. There was a guy sitting in front of me with a strange appearance looking at me. Finally, I met her. We talked about my situation. She mentioned jobs as a store person, etc. I mentioned my experience as a startup. She focused on the paperwork instead. Finally, we got to the point of the minimum hours of work. of participation. There was a confusion about that, and she suggested I should go to Centrelink again to clarify the point, because there was a letter from the August the 4th, I think, from Centrelink saying that the minimum hours would be 8 a week, but they got, for some reason, 15 in their system, in Paramount system. So it was a discrepancy between Centrelink system and theirs. So she suggested I should go to Centrelink again to clarify the point. During my meeting with Robin, I received a phone call from Dr. Jacobs' assistant, and she said that I should take that call, as she knew who were calling. Another employee called me at home regarding the discrepancies between their system and the one from Centrelink. She said I could be penalized, and she made some threats. I told her she could do whatever she wanted. She replied she would call me later. Also had a strong argument with Dave about his noises of previous night. I told him about his change of behavior lately, so I got angry. I told him that I don't know who you work for, but you tell them I'm not stupid. I also told him that he had read my tweets. He remained silent, ignoring my question. Obviously, he did. It was an agitated exchange, though, and he seemed really nervous after that. On the 19th of August, he took the microwave, Dave, to the third bedroom, the one who was left empty by his partner, Fred, where he put all his medical stuff for his illness, which I never believed it was real, to be honest. I told him I could bring mine from the storage, the microwave, but he didn't accept. Another letter from Centrelink, a new appointment on September the 1st. Now I understand that phrase from Robin saying that you should go to Centrelink. On the 26th of August, somehow, I don't know, I always had the impression the guys from SBS, there's a network here, especially one of them I mentioned on my first tweets on July 2011, Ricardo Gonçalves, know everything about my situation since the very beginning. On the 27th of August, a letter from the real estate agent, McLennan, giving us 2 weeks to address cleaning, mowing, etc. in the house. On the 28th of August, increasingly bizarre situation at home with Dave. On the 28th, and same day, an appointment with Dr. D again, talking about the dispute about the working hours per week according to Paramount and Centrelink. He seemed a bit surprised. He looked at the letter from Centrelink but said nothing. I told him I felt frustration, thinking the government, the police, etc. should be involved. He seemed worried and ended up very quickly our encounter. The 29th of August, Dave came back from watching footy. He said that he did that very often despite his illness, and we had an argument over the toilet seat not staying down. It was a very old one and dirty plastic one. That's the reason that I should keep it up. Very stupid argument. The 30th of August, Dave spent long hours in his tiny room and go out on 3 occasions only. The September the 1st, appointment at Centrelink with a very cocky Asian guy. He reminded me of my obligations. I asked him about the letter from Paramount stating 15 hours in contraposition of the one from them on August the 4th, which said 8 hours a week. He ignored Paramount's letter and told me I should consider only their letter as the minimum hours per week. In the end, he said that I should enjoy the job. I didn't know what he meant, but it sounded like a message or something like that. September the 2nd, appointment at Paramount, this time with Glenda Broadbent, who ignored the whole thing related to the letter and minimum hours to work per week. She recommended me a website called mensshed.org, Australian Men's Shed Association, AMSA, where it was obviously it was not what I needed back then. I was trying to get a job. So on the 8th of September, I started to hear more often cars honking their horns as they were passing by on the street. Something that it would increase with time. until today. Well, today is not that noticeable. Well, what was back then, because Jackson Road was more, there was more traffic than in this street. On the 9th of September, another appointment to get another loan from the car, for my car registration at the Spring Valley Center. On the 11th, more strange behavior at Aldi, and they said the 12th, the same at Safeway. On the 13th of September, working in the front garden, Cherry came by to pick up the correspondence, and he talked about Dave, saying how he did nothing in the house, etc. He also said the letter from McLennan, which was the real estate agency, was not important. And curiously, she asked me if I was being creative. At that time, it was a bit strange, but I answered that I didn't know what he meant. But I answered saying that I didn't see myself as a creative person, but a resourceful one, perhaps. I don't know. 17th of September, appointment at Paramount, changing their name from to the Bridge Employment, from Paramount to the Bridge Employment. From then on, with Glenda, we discussed about Menchit and told him that it won't work. And she disagreed at first, but eventually we changed the subject to a potential part-time job, about 4 hours a day, as the immediate goal to achieve. Also told her that with all the money spent by the government and agency since 2009, they could have easily paid for CPA. She replied that she hadn't got the money for that. Ridiculous, I think. I'm going to start saying that one of the guys here is coughing. I suppose that he is listening what I'm saying right now to you, and he kept coughing. I'm going to talk to him about him and the other two guys on the next video on 2015. No worry, don't be anxious. I'm going to talk about you as well. Keep coughing now. So on the 20th of September, I went to the city for a stroll. On the 25th of September, I appointed with Dr. Darmash. I told him about last developments with Paramount and Centrelink, and he pretended to know nothing about it. During our session, I asked him about being recorded. He denied it, saying that not only ethically but legally he would need my consent to do such a thing. He was a bit stressed at the end of our meeting. On October the 2nd, appointment at the Bridge Employment with Glenda, completed the process of assessment on the computer. She led the conversation to the point that I started to describe my experience at CIPSA. She was really interested in knowing about it. I wondered back then if we were recorded. I don't know why, especially when it came to describe the nature of that organization, being regulated by a royal charter and being a professional body with worldwide presence. On the 16th of October, a call from Rich again about the discrepancy about the working weekly hours. The conversation ended up badly, and the new appointment for tomorrow. On the 17th of October, this time it was a different female employee. I met her at the Bridge, and she wanted to sort out the issue again with the hours when I thought that we were done with all that. She insisted that the system did not coincide with the Centrelinks, and I showed her their letter over again. The same discussion. She decided to call Centrelink from the office. By the way, it would take hours for them to sometimes to pick up the phone when you call them, but she decided to do it anyway. So I asked her if we couldn't talk about all the more important issues, and she insisted that telling me that if I was able to read, and offered me some cleaner jobs. I told her she didn't trust me. She said I could be penalized by them. Because of that, I asked her if we could talk to somebody else there. She said that she was going to talk to her boss, and a few moments later, Julie showed up. I described the conversation to her. She said that she didn't have any intention of offering me a cleaner position at all. She said that she had a suitable position for me and called the consultant Martina Neto. That was her name. The position was at Hindustan Imports on Greens Road, Dandenong, with Vincent Sequina being the contact person there. On my way out, Julie asked me if I like to work with Martina, and I say yes, of course. On the 19th of October that year, 2014, I always liked animals. It's something I couldn't avoid, never couldn't avoid. So I took care of the David cats lots of times. Sometimes without him asking me. But at that point, he took it as it was my obligation, and that night I told him about it, and he got really angry. Started yelling at me, saying that I should leave the house, among other things, because I didn't pay the bond, which is something that I didn't agree with Fred. So I went to his room, and from outside, he has his door open. I told him that I organized the conditions of my tenancy with Fred, who was his partner back then. Well, he got furious with that and come to me with the intention of punching me, and I pushed him away. He fell. I got back to my room, and that was the end of the story. He was really nervous after that, and he also said that I also said that we should talk to Cherry, since he was the one on the list, not one of us. Neither one of us won the list, only Cherry. On the 20th of October, waiting news from Cherry as to have to look for another room or not. But in the morning, two female police officers came knocking on the front door. And he said, "Is David at home?" And I said, "No, he left with a woman a few minutes ago." "What is your name?" I said, "Alex." "And do you live here as a tenant?" "Yes." I said, "Yes, I do this since February 2013. He called us to say there was an incident. "Do you have any argument with that became physical?" I said, "No, we just had an argument. I've been living in this country for more than 10 years and never had a problem with anybody, including the police." I said to her, "Has he been drinking?" And I said, "Me?" And she said, "No, him." I said, I don't know. I just live here. I'm not his friend. Is he on the list?" She asked me. I said, "No, I don't think so. I don't know whether he drinks or not, or he's on drugs or not. I don't know." So she said to me, "We couldn't come last night when he called us. So can we leave a message card with you for him?" I said, "Yes, no problem." Can you tell him that he can do the statement at our police station in Springvale when he feels like it?" And I said, no problem at all. So they left, but they came back later on and to take my statement. So, which, by the way, I was not given any copy back then. They said that Dave's account of the events was different to mine, and I repeated my version of events. They say the female police officer will call me from Springvale for further questioning, and that's something that never happened. I remember that I asked them that I should call a lawyer when I was answering or filling out the statement, and they said that it was my prerogative, but it was just a declaration of events. So I told them about myself. I was really worried about having a problem with of such nature, although they seemed to know about me more than he could accept, I believe, because they were looking at my TV, and I got the impression that they knew something more about me. But that's okay. On the 21st of October, Cherry called me to tell me I should apologize to Dave, something that I emphatically rejected because I was not at fault. He also said that we should move on, and I said that would happen once the police charges were dropped. On the 23rd of October, no news from Cherry in reference to the room. On the 25th, Cherry showed up at noon. He was very angry, said that there was no room for rebuttal, that he was going to dictate the terms. Very bizarre meeting. I was expecting them to give me up, actually. Instead, they said that the deal with Fred was dropped, and they raised the rent from $250 a fortnight to $340 a fortnight, which was pretty much like saying that I should go, because it was a lot of money for me back then. Still is. Cherry suggested I should look for another tenant for the empty room to share the burden of the new rent. So I posted an advertisement on Gumtree, knowing that nobody would call. On the 31st of October, appointment with Martina at Bridge Employment. There was an awkward conversation during which she told me the position at Inderstan had been filled in. Text message from Cherry saying the friend of her needed some help to move some things. Debbie, she was offering $20. On the November the 5th, called the Springway police station regarding the charges due to the incident with Dave. I called Cherry. We didn't make any progress, so I told him I was going to look for another room, a cheaper one. On the 8th of November the 8th, helped Debbie to move some things. She gave me $20 I spent on Safeway straight away. On the November the 12th, went for a bike ride. November the 14th, appointment with Martina. She showed me a bookkeeper position advertised on Gumtree at Morrow's Freight Lines in Dandenong South. She asked me to send them my CV. She asked me about my time at CIPSA again, and I told them the same. On the 18th of November, I called Morrow's and left a message in the morning for Edwina O'Brien, who was the manager. Nobody phoned me back, but Martina did, saying that they were interested in having an interview the next morning. I was really surprised because I haven't had any job interviews or anything like that at all during the whole year and the previous year. So the appointment was next day at 9:30. Martina promised me to drive me to the company, which eventually she did. On the 19th of November, I met Martina at the Bridge Employment, and she asked me if I was willing to start immediately at Morrow's. I said yes, of course, and the company we met Edwina. We talked about the role, and she asked me if I could start the next day, Edwina. On the 20th of November, I started at Morrow's at 8:30. There were a lot of offices empty and a few people working. Similar picture I was in Rambler, I don't know. I worked with Sally. I was introduced to David Morrow, the owner, and Stuart Brown, the CEO. On the 21st of November, Edwina asked me to do the filling and asked me all the basic things to do as well. On the 24th of November, Martina called me at work, asking me if how I was doing. She asked me if I could do the job on a permanent basis, and I said of course. On the 24th of November, the same day, but nobody approached me to offer me. Despite that comment, nobody approached me back then to offer me anything at all. I asked her if she received any feedback from Edwina, and she said no. On the 27th of November, no news from anyone. As well, on the 28th, David Morrows showed up at the office in the morning. They didn't tell me anything, but I started to suspect they didn't want me in the role. I don't know why. It was really a weird situation with them not telling me anything. Later, I asked her, finally, Edwina, and she said, I thought you already figured it out. And I said, how come if you don't tell me? She said, well, we won't need you here on Monday. I was shocked and asked her, you could have told me, don't you think? I called Martina, and she said she knew nothing about it. On December the 1st, talked to Martina, and she said she was trying to get a feedback from Edwina. On December the 4th, appointment with Martina again. We talked about the experience at Morrow's and scheduled another appointment for 19th of December. She said that she left messages for Edwina trying to get some feedback without success. Later went to Centrelink to declare my income, working at Morrow's. The employee gave me, as usual, a lot of BS, as usual. On the 17th of December, a letter to the Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, and other MPs. We don't know answer at all from anybody. Okay, this is pretty much the most important things about 2014 that happened to me. Hopefully I'm going to record another video for 2015 when I will talk about the things that were more interesting. It was pretty much a very active year in terms of things that happened to me, more active than I think that all the years before. So hopefully it will be more interesting. I think it will. Thank you. Bye.